Why couldn't you last even a single day as an oil rig worker? I don't say that out of arrogance. I'm not the kind of man who brags or thinks he's better than anyone else. I'm calm, and I've seen enough to know the truth. Most people with normal jobs simply aren't trained physically or mentally to handle the brutal challenges of this work. Because this job isn't just about being tough. It's about enduring isolation, fear, exhaustion, and the kind of pressure that breaks you from the inside out. My name is Daniel Carter. I'm 36 years old. I was born in a small town outside Houston, Texas, a place where everyone grows up knowing about the oil industry. I have a small family in the suburbs, my wife, Emily, and 2 kids in elementary school, a 7-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl. Emily works as a nurse at a small clinic. It's not heavy labor, but it weighs on her mind. Her paycheck mostly goes to the kids' schooling, and you probably know this already, but in America, tuition, insurance, and just living it all bleeds you dry. We once sat down and calculated, if we tried living on her nurse's salary alone, we'd barely scrape by. I did a bit of college, but life pushed me toward work. I started as a regular laborer, and eventually ended up here on the rigs. When people hear what I do, they only see the money. Wow, you must be making a ton out there, huh? Work a few years and you're set for life, they say. But they don't know that every dollar comes soaked in sweat, risk, and loneliness. They don't see the 12-hour shifts that never really end. They don't know what it's like to be hundreds of miles from shore, with no one to talk to except other men just as tired as you are. Every time I prepare for a new hitch, it feels like a small goodbye. On the morning I leave, I usually wake earlier than usual. I sit quietly with a cup of coffee while Emily and the kids are still asleep. I look around our little house, the place I won't see again for at least 3 weeks. Before I leave, I always kiss my kids on the forehead while they're still dreaming. Emily walks me to the door. She tries to smile, but I can see the worry behind her eyes. She takes my hand and says, "Be careful out there. Call whenever you can." I nod, smile back, but deep down, there's always that heavy feeling. Because I know every hitch is a gamble. Getting to the rig is a journey on its own. From home, I drive almost 3 hours to the dock, then either take a fast crew boat for another hour or a helicopter if the rig is farther offshore. Every time you board that chopper, you feel like you're leaving the real world behind. Through the tiny window, you see nothing but endless ocean. After a while, it appears a massive steel beast rising from the sea. From a distance, the rig looks like a small floating city, huge cranes, pipes snaking in every direction, and lights blinking even in broad daylight. I'll never forget the first time I set foot on an oil rig. It felt like the place swallowed me whole. The noise never stops, roaring pumps, metal clanging, the constant hiss of sea wind. The air is thick with salt, fuel, and the heavy smell of crude oil. The moment you step off the chopper, discipline hits you like a wall. Everyone moves fast, talks little, and wears heavy protective gear. You immediately understand, one careless mistake out here can kill more than just you. On the rig, there's no such thing as day or night. The schedule is simple but brutal, 12 hours on, 12 hours off, over and over again, for 21 straight days. There's no coffee shop. No convenience store. No friends dropping by. Just the same faces, the endless sea, and the work. And that is just the beginning. Morning on an oil rig doesn't feel like morning at all. The alarm goes off at 4:30 a.m., but outside, it's still pitch dark. Out here, there's no real day or night, just work shifts and rest shifts, over and over again. I wake up on the top bunk in a shared sleeping cabin, hearing the low hum of the engines vibrating through steel walls. Mixed in are the sounds of boots stomping on the floor, men coughing, someone snoring. The room isn't big, just 8 guys crammed together, the air thick with the smell of sweat, oil, and the stale feeling of too many days without fresh air. I swing my legs down, stretch, and head for the sink. Hygiene is quick: splash some cold water on your face, brush your teeth, then pull on heavy protective gear. Everything is thick, stiff, and uncomfortable. Before stepping onto the work deck, you double-check every piece of safety equipment because out here, one small mistake might mean you don't come back. My shift starts at 6 a.m. and ends at 6 p.m. 12 straight hours, no stopping. My job is to help operate and monitor the drilling systems, watch the pressure, check the gauges, handle small issues before they become big ones. You have to stay 100% focused. 1 second of distraction could mean millions of gallons of oil blowing out of the well, setting the whole rig on fire, and taking dozens of lives with it. The noise here never stops. The drills roar like monsters, metal clanks and bangs, the sea wind whistles through every gap in the steel. Standing on the rig floor, you can feel the entire platform vibrating, like it's breathing with the ocean beneath it. Communication is quick and sharp. Nobody has time for small talk. It's just: pressure stable? Pipe 3 needs inspection. Watch your step. Danger is everywhere. A pressure spike, a faulty valve, a slick spot on the deck kit can all turn into a fatal accident. I've seen things out here that still make my spine go cold when I remember them. Lunchtime means heading to the rig canteen. It's not a big place, but it's clean and bright, with a dozen tables lined up. Surprisingly, the food is better than most people would expect. Steak, roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, pasta, even pizza, typical American comfort food. Sometimes there's salad or vegetable soup, but fresh greens are rare out here. Why these foods? Because working on an oil rig burns an insane amount of energy. You're doing heavy labor, standing for hours in rough conditions. Your body needs red meat, carbs, and fats to keep going. A plate of steak and mashed potatoes packs enough calories to last until the next shift. They serve fish too, but it's usually frozen, not fresh. Fruit is limited, usually just apples or bananas because they last longer. Soda, coffee, and energy drinks are always available, things that help keep you awake during a long shift, even though we all know too much isn't good. Personally, my favorite meal is honey-glazed chicken with a bit of spicy sauce. It's soft, easy to eat, and most importantly, it feels closer to a homemade meal, unlike the heavy steaks or greasy pizza. Some days, when I'm too tired to care, I just grab a hot bowl of soup and some bread. And the price? Of course, it's more expensive than on land. A steak with potatoes and a bit of salad costs about $20. A slice of pizza is $8. A can of soda? $3. Everything has to be shipped out here by boat or helicopter, so the cost stacks up. Even with the company subsidizing some of it, it still feels like eating at a restaurant, not a workplace cafeteria. We sit down and eat in silence. The exhaustion kills your appetite. The food might be plentiful, even tasty, but it still feels empty, because you know that after lunch, there are 6 more hours of work waiting for you, the same noise, the same oil smell, the same danger. The next 12 hours, your rest shift, isn't really rest. You have just enough time to shower, eat something light, and then collapse into your bunk, falling asleep to the sound of machinery rumbling through the night. Mental life on the rig barely exists. The internet is weak, the phone signal flickers in and out. Once a week, I can make a short call home. Sometimes, I hear Emily's voice breaking through the static, and my throat tightens. My son tells me he got an A on his test. My daughter proudly says she drew a new picture. I can only say a few words of encouragement before I have to hang up and get back to work. Some guys bring books, play offline games, or watch old movies on their laptops. But nothing really kills the loneliness. And the worst part? When you hear bad news from homie, a sick parent, a kid in trouble at school, and you can't leave. You just swallow it and keep going. The men I work with are a special kind of people. Some have been here over 20 years, faces weathered like stone. Some are new, still nervous, still scared, but they toughen up fast. We don't chat much, but when someone does open up, you hear all kinds of stories. Some work here to pay off debts. Some are saving for their kids' future. Some have nowhere else to go. Out here, everyone is equal in the face of the job and the danger. You know something? Out here, you really understand how small you are. Surrounded by endless ocean, deafened by machines, you realize strength isn't about muscles, it's about endurance, and keeping your mind together. Every time I step onto the work deck, I'm wearing my bright orange coveralls, thick and stiff, with reflective stripes so everyone can see me. On my head, a hard hat with a small mounted light. In my ears, noise plugs because the constant roar of machinery here can make you deaf if you're not careful. My hands are inside heavy rubber gloves, and my feet inside steel-toe boots that feel like bricks. Nothing about this outfit is comfortable. But it's what keeps you alive out here. I work in drilling operations. My job is to help run the drilling systems, monitor the pressure, watch every gauge, and catch small problems before they become disasters. It sounds simple, just watch the numbers, but in reality, this is the heart of the entire rig. One loose bolt, one valve that doesn't close on time, and the whole rig can explode. This job demands absolute precision, discipline, and courage. You need to know every piece of equipment like the back of your hand. Stay calm when alarms go off, because panic kills more than accidents do. Follow safety rules like they're laws of nature. There's no room for maybe. Old-timers share a piece of advice: trust your gut. If you hear a strange noise, feel a vibration that doesn't seem right, stop. Check. Don't ignore it. Out here, your instincts will save your life more times than you can count. So how much do we make for this kind of danger? Someone like me, a skilled drilling operator, earns around $90,000 to $120,000 a year. With long shifts and hazard bonuses, it can go up to $150,000. Sounds like a lot, right? But remember, you're trading your youth, your health, and sometimes your life. Yes, the company gives us health insurance, accident insurance, even a big payout for families if someone dies on the job. But let's be honesto them, a life is just part of the operating cost. People often ask, why would anyone choose this? The answer is simple: money. Family. Or because there's no better option. Behind every offshore oil rig worth hundreds of millions of dollars, there's a profit stream worth billions. One offshore oil field can hold hundreds of millions of barrels of oil, and every single day, the rig can generate tens of millions of dollars in revenue. You can see exactly who gets rich: the corporations, the shareholders. And what about us? We take just a small fraction, enough to keep coming back. And it's not just drilling operators like me. On the rig, there are maintenance crews, the welders, repairmen, the ones who climb high steel beams in harsh weather. Their job is just as dangerous, but they make less, around $60,000 to $80,000 a year. Roustabouts, the general laborers. They haul equipment, clean, move heavy loads. It's backbreaking, the lowest paid, but still risky. Cooks, you might think they have it easy, but they work 12 hours straight to feed hundreds of people. Safety officers, always on edge, making sure nobody cuts corners, because one mistake can kill everyone. Every single one of them works 12-hour shifts, every single one lives far from family, and every single one knows one wrong move can be their last. People like to romanticize the oil industry. They see the giant machines, the massive platforms, and they think it's heroic, even glamorous. But the truth? It's a cold, calculated machine of capitalism. They invest billions of dollars, yes. But they make tens of billions in return. And to keep that money flowing, they need people like us, the ones who trade blood, sweat, and years off our lives just to keep their empire running. The world still needs oil. We talk about clean energy, electric cars, renewable power, but the reality is, oil is still the lifeblood of the global economy. It fuels cars, planes, factories, even the very device you're using to listen to this story. As long as the demand exists, there will always be rigs like this one. And there will always be men like me standing on steel platforms in the middle of the ocean, selling our time, our strength, and sometimes our health just so our families can live a little better. Sometimes at night, I stand on the deck, looking out at the endless dark ocean, and I can't help but think. We earn a paycheck, but they earn an empire. That's a typical day for me. Harsh, heavy, and never-ending. And the hardest part isn't the work itself, it's not letting your mind break. Nights on the rig have their own kind of silence. It's not really quiet, the machines still rumble, the wind still howls, but there's a different kind of stillness. After a 12-hour shift, most men are too tired to speak. You see them dragging their boots back to the cabin, faces blank, eyes heavy. Sometimes I can't sleep right away. I just sit in the small common room with a cup of coffee that's been reheated too many times, looking at the faded posters on the wall. It's in moments like these that you start hearing stories. There's Jack, a welder from Louisiana. He's been on rigs for over 15 years. His hands are scarred, his back is ruined from climbing steel beams in bad weather. He has 3 kids he barely sees. He once told me, "I don't even know what my youngest's voice sounds like right now. Last time I saw her, she was 2. Next time, she'll probably be 4. Then there's Miguel, a roustabout. Young, only 23, but already looks older than his age. He sends most of his paycheck back to Mexico to support his parents and siblings. He laughs a lot, but when he thinks no one's watching, you see the exhaustion in his eyes. And then there was Steve. He used to work as a driller like me, until one day a high-pressure line burst and shattered his arm. He didn't die, but his career was over in an instant. The company paid compensation, but after that, he was just forgotten. These stories remind me, no one is invincible here. The rig is a community, but it's also a place where everyone knows you could be gone tomorrow. We don't say it out loud, but it's always there, the quiet fear. I've seen things that still haunt me. A man slipping on an oil slick, falling and breaking his spine. A sudden fire in a storage room that took 3 men before we even knew what happened. Out here, danger doesn't give you warnings. It just takes. Sometimes, we talk about the bigger picture. We all know the oil we pull from the earth keeps the world moving, cars, planes, factories, even the lights in your house. But we also know what it costs. We see the waste. The spills. The damage to the ocean when something goes wrong. We know that somewhere, far away, people protest about climate change and demand clean energy. And here we are, in the middle of the sea, risking our lives to keep the oil flowing. It's a strange feeling being both needed and hated at the same time. Needed because the world can't run without oil. Hated because oil is dirty, destructive, a symbol of greed. Every man here has his own way of coping. Some read books in their bunks. Some write letters they'll never send. Some just drink coffee, stare at the ocean, and count the days until they can go home. Me? I keep a small photo of my family in my pocket. Every time I feel like I can't take it anymore, the noise, the danger, the endless steel, I look at that photo. My wife, Emily, smiling. My kids, holding hands in front of our little house. And I remind myself, this is why I'm here. The truth is, this job takes more than just your strength. It takes time you'll never get back. It takes moments you'll never see, birthdays, school plays, quiet dinners with your family. But it also gives something, a way out of poverty, a chance to give your kids a better future. That's the trade. When I first started, I thought I was just doing this for the money. But after years out here, I've learned something deeper. This job teaches you what really matters. Not the paycheck. Not the fancy titles. Just the people waiting for you to come home. Sometimes, late at night, I stand on the deck and watch the horizon. The sea is black, the sky full of stars. The rig hums like a giant beast. And I think about how small we are, just tiny specks keeping this giant machine alive. And I whisper to myself, one more day. Just get through one more day. If you asked me what the scariest thing about working on an oil rig is, I wouldn't immediately say accidents or fires. The most terrifying thing is nature itself. You can control machines. You can follow safety rules. But you can never control the ocean. I'll never forget the time a massive storm hit us. That day started like any other. I was checking the pressure gauges when the radio crackled. A storm cell is forming about 80 miles out. It's getting stronger and heading our way. I looked out at the sea. The sky was changing dark gray, heavy, almost bruised. The waves began to rise, slamming harder against the rig. The entire platform trembled. The air smelled different, like metal, salt, and danger. On a rig, when a storm comes, you can't run. You're hundreds of miles from shore. There's nowhere to go. You either hold your ground or get swallowed. We rushed to shut down all drilling operations and locked the pressure valves. Everyone moved fast, securing fuel tanks, tying down loose equipment, double-checking every chain and cable. Then the wind started screaming. Waves taller than a two-story house smashed into the rig, making the entire steel giant shake like a leaf. The sky turned black, lightning tore across the horizon. I was in the control room watching the radar flicker while the metal structure groaned around us. At one point, a heavy pipe on the deck came loose. If it had crashed into the fuel storage, the whole platform could have gone up in flames. I grabbed my safety harness and, with two other guys, went out onto the deck in the middle of the storm. Rain hit like needles. The wind nearly ripped us off our feet. Every step felt like it could be the last. But we managed to secure it, hands trembling, bodies soaked to the bone. The storm lasted 8 hours. 8 hours that felt like 8 lifetimes. When it finally passed, I stepped out onto the deck. The ocean was still restless, but calmer. Above the horizon, a pale violet light broke through the clouds. The rig was still standing. We were still alive. That night, no one really slept. We just sat around the table, sipping bad coffee in silence, exchanging tired smiles. In our eyes, there was the same look, relief mixed with exhaustion. But storms aren't the only threat. Sometimes, we face something more human: pirates. In certain parts of the world, especially off the coast of West Africa or Southeast Asia, piracy is a very real danger. I remember one night. I was on the night shift when the alarm went off. Unidentified vessel approaching. No lights, no flag. I checked the security camera. There it was, a small fast boat heading straight for us. We immediately locked all access points and gathered in the safe room. The rig's security team grabbed their rifles and took positions. The boat circled a few times, then finally turned away. We were lucky that night. They didn't attack. But for those tense minutes, you could feel how fragile your life really is out here. After weeks of hard work, the hitch finally ends. 21 days at sea, 21 days of 12-hour shifts, breathing steel and oil. On the last morning, we hand over the rig to the incoming crew. I sign dozens of papers: production reports, safety checklists, equipment logs. Then I pack my things, though there's not much to pack, just a few clothes, a notebook, and a photo of my family. Before leaving, I always stop for a moment. I look back at the massive steel structure. It has swallowed 3 weeks of my life, but in return, it gave me what I need: money for my family. We board the helicopter. As the rotors spin up, I glance out the window. The rig grows smaller and smaller, until it's just a speck of light floating in the endless ocean. And for the first time in weeks I feel light. Back on shore, we get our paychecks. For a 21-day hitch, after taxes and insurance deductions, I take home about $8,000. It's a solid amount. But then I think about what it really cost: 504 hours of hard labor, fatigue, and danger. When I hold that paycheck, I don't see numbers. I see my kids' school tuition. I see my wife worrying less about bills. I see the leaky roof on our house finally getting fixed. On the flight home, I lean back in the seat, close my eyes, and imagine Emily waiting by the door, smiling. I see my kids running toward me, yelling, "Daddy." I picture our first dinner together after weeks apart, simple, but warmer than anything I've had on the rig. That feeling, of finishing a hitch safely, it's pure relief. But deep down, I know in a few weeks, I'll have to go back. Because the world still needs oil. Because my family still needs the money. Because life doesn't stop. I've thought a lot about the future. I can't do this forever. My body won't last. One day, I'll quit, maybe open a small shop, find a safer job, spend more time with my kids before they grow up without me. But that's for tomorrow. Today I just want to go home.